Hello, I'm your host, Linda Kasonde. I'm a lawyer who spent several years as an advocate for human rights, justice, and the rule of law in my native country, Zambia. This podcast was born out of the need to share women's experiences of leadership and to advocate for more women to take up leadership positions, based on themes in my memoir, Women, Resilience, and the Will to Lead. We cover topics ranging from motherhood to running for office, ambition, and managing the imposter syndrome. I hope you enjoy it. Mwaka, you wrote a dissertation as part of your degree on how older generations are less careful on social media with their cybersecurity. And I wondered if on the flip side, Gen Z is more, self-censors more, and what effect that has on you as a generation. Because certainly my generation, Gen X, were quite expressive. The idea of something going viral is a very new phenomenon. So what you're afraid of as a generation happening to you or being cyberbullied wasn't so much a real threat. But tell us about that. Tell us about what your thesis was.
Yes, so basically with my thesis, I was looking at how age or generation affects privacy attitudes and as a result, privacy behaviors. So how maybe older generations, there's this thing called the privacy paradox that basically says that people will be really concerned about their privacy, but they won't really do anything to kind of protect it. But then they'll still share lots of personal information and such online. And that's kind of what I was looking into. And yeah, basically what a lot of the research was saying is that there's maybe not so much a privacy paradox, but rather kind of an explained phenomenon called privacy calculus theory, where basically individuals will kind of weigh the benefits and costs of sharing information online. And after they do that, whichever one is kind of stronger will determine what they do. And as well as the fact that younger generations, like you said, I guess we're better at self-censoring in the sense that, okay, we'll have a private Instagram and you'll delete your tags and you'll use a password manager. You won't put your real name when you're using forms and stuff like that. And I guess those things kind of give you that sense of security, being like, okay, I've done these things. Now I'll actually just share everything because I have these protection mechanisms in place. So I think it's more of explained behavior rather than a paradox. But yeah, I do find that especially with me and my friends, because we're not famous influencers or anything like that, that we kind of were just I only want to share with really share things with my friends online. I don't want to post something to my 500, 800, 1,000 Instagram followers with. It's people I kind of know, but they're not really people who I would want to share things with, but I still want to be able to do that. So yeah, I guess we kind of create spaces for ourselves where we feel okay, I'm safe enough now that I can do this. So yeah.
Is it really safety or is it a false sense of security?
I think it's a mix. I think in terms of obviously the privacy of your data, in terms of the companies, you can only do so much. I think the fact that you exist on these sites, you kind of you're yeah, they probably have some of my personal information. And then, but I guess in terms of peer-to-peer, person to person, if I don't want Basila to see something that I've posted on my face, she won't see it if she's not in. So I think that's the security, being I know who's going to see it in terms of people that I actually know. So in that sense, you're kind of okay, I'm good.
Basila?
Yeah. I agree with what Mwaka said, in terms of this last point that we just discussed and feeling safe online. It's really just the community you have. Most people will have a main account and then a Finsta account, and then on the Finsta account is where you feel it's safe to show your true self. I feel your main account is more about aesthetics and giving a false vision of who you are as a person. You always look cute, you're always at this place or that place, you're never at home in your bonnet or in your pajamas. You're never really truly sharing your true opinion or showing the nuances of yourself, versus on your Finsta, like you've curated who follows you, who can see each post. Like you don't let anybody and everybody in, even if you know them. Like if you don't trust that you can be safe with them, that like how you express yourself won't be either misconstrued or like shared to people you don't know, then they won't be let in. So there you're free to like be your authentic self and do what you want. So I think that's that like false sense of we feel more safe there. But like as Mwaka said, like the companies, Meta, Facebook, Elon Musk, like all these people who are in charge of these companies, they will have your data, and so you're not really safe in that way. But as to the previous question about whether Gen Z is, I guess, like more anxious as a generation, I do agree with what Mwaka said, but I also think it seems like we're more anxious because previously it was more taboo to be like to discuss these mental health issues. So to be anxious, to be depressed, to have ADHD, like if you had those problems, first of all, you didn't know what they were. You just knew like something is wrong with me, but you didn't know exactly what was wrong. You had no one to discuss it with. There was no name for it. And then second of all, if you did go to someone and be like, this and this is wrong, they would tell you, no, like, let's not discuss that. Let's not do that. Like, forget about it. Versus now, there's all these options and avenues you can take. Therapists are around, these books, even just on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, they talk to you about it, and you're like, oh wait, those symptoms, that sounds like me. People are just a lot more open and aware. Yeah, it's less taboo. And so I guess that's why it seems like there's a rise and there's all these cases, because like, oh, everywhere you look now everyone's anxious, versus like it's like, oh wait, people can just talk about it now versus then. So yeah.
Wonderful. So we're going to take a sharp right. I'd like you to give your thoughts on how Gen Z is showing up and expressing itself and using its voice. For example, we've seen the recent protests in Kenya with regards to the public finance bill, and the power harnessed by Gen Z, almost leaderless, but concerted effort towards championing a certain cause. Do you think Gen Z is showing up more, voicing out themselves more? What do you think?
I can go first. I would say it seems like it, but I think it's a byproduct of social media and just the power of these platforms. I think social media really allows you to build community and speak with so many different people, to hear stories from so many different places from around the world. It's just no longer about being in Zambia or being in Lusaka or even just being in the area you live in. Like, it's not about Makeni. Like, you can hear about Tanzania, you can hear about Kenya, you can hear about what's happening in the various states of America, England. Like, it's just a way for people to be so much more informed. And because there's this information and knowledge, it spears people up, and there's more of this drive to be like, oh wait, that's happening, that's not okay, what can we do about it? So I think there's more community and a lot more knowledge through social media. And then I think social media also just allows people to do something without necessarily leaving their house. So like, you can, type that you're upset about this, or you can, do things in solidarity, like with Black Lives Matter, the black squares, or with Palestine, sharing information, boycotting restaurants and all these organizations. Like, there's a way for people to be involved without, being in that area. So it seems like there's more of this drive to cause change when it's just, there's an easier platform for people to do to make those changes happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think I wouldn't say we're any more outspoken like the generations before us, because I think thinking about all the things that we talked about earlier, there was civil rights, there was fighting for independence, apartheid, and things like that, and all those were huge stepping stones for us to kind of be here and to be able to have the, I guess, power to use our voices in another way. But But yeah, I do agree that I think with social media, just it's like an extra tool that maybe you can spread information way more, and also like share what people like on the ground are actually going through, because now they have their own kind of tool that they can use to share what they're experiencing. Like Basila said, like with Palestine, you see what people are going through on the ground and they're sharing their own experiences. And the same thing even when like there was GBV protests and things like that, people are on the ground saying this is what's happening in my city, in my town, in my school, and things like that. And you don't necessarily have to wait for the news or other people to come and help you share that story. You have platforms now where you can do it for yourself, and other people will see that and spread that around. So yeah.
Okay, great. We're moving away now from technology to back to home, the local scene. So both of you are from mixed tribal heritage. So I wanted to hear from both of you what it means to be Zambian in this generation, post-colonial, the digital age. What does it mean to be Zambian to you?
I mean, we're proud to be Zambian. Like, it's a big part of our lives. It's our culture. It forms part of our identity. Like, obviously, there's Zambia Kuchalo, and like everywhere you go, like if there's a Zambian doing something outside of Zambia, and we're proud. Like, everyone is typing under the post or the thing, like Zambia Kuchalo. Like, I think as the younger generation, we're very proud of all the accomplishments of Zambian individuals and what they're doing outside of the world. So whether that's in sports, like at the recent Olympics, with Samkonga winning a bronze medal in the 400, or like with our Zambian artists and them performing around the world. And I think even just like between the two of us, we both went to university, go to university outside of Zambia, and we share our culture with like the different people we interact with. So whether that's friends, classmates, we tell them about Zambia. We have them, one of my friends recently came and visited Zambia with another classmate because she had heard so much about Zambia from us. They eat our food, we're making shima for them. So yeah,
making shima for them.
Yeah. It's like, try it, because they hear us speaking about it, and it's like, well, we can make it for you, and they try it and they love it. So I think it's just about giving Zambia a voice and like showcasing the multitude of talent we have in Zambia. I think that's how.
Yeah, my mom's always saying, Mwaka, like Zambia is paradise. I mean, maybe not so much right now with like, yeah, no, exactly. Like she says that to me all the time. I guess for her, it's like a thing of like the peace of living here. For the most part, like Zambia is a pretty peaceful country. And one of the main things she always talks about is the fact that we've had like 7 political transitions since independence. And for the most part, it's not like we haven't had serious like civil problems when it come to things like that, especially even in our last election. And that's something that is not really easily come by in other countries, like post-colonialism, being able to change governments, not so easily, but like, without so much internal uproar. And yeah, like for me, when I went to university, I was always trying to paint Zambia positively, because especially I guess in like Western media, African countries are not always so well portrayed. Like it's always just the poverty and all the problems and this disease and this and that. I'm like, no, there's so much more. Like, yes, those things are true, but those things are true in so many places, and it's never highlighted there the way it's highlighted with us. I'm like, no, we have all this wildlife, we have all these things that we do. We also do the same things you guys do, and we have a nice time like living here when things are good. So, I'm always trying to like share parts of my culture. I'm like, yeah, in Zambia, we say it like this, or we do it like this, and this is the music we listen to. Like 2 years ago when the song Msimbi came out, I played it for my friends back in the Netherlands, and they really liked it. So we'd even be like hanging out, having dinner, and then somebody would play it, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, yes. So like, yeah, it's just nice to be able to like share that side of like your identity or your country and make it look more positive than what maybe other people would have thought about it initially. I mean, a lot of my friends in university are also from African countries, so I didn't necessarily have that problem so much, but still, like, they're not from Zambia, so they still get to learn about Zambia from me, so it's nice.
Great. And just before we leave this topic, I wanted to find out how much tribalism features in your lives here at home, if at all.
None really. Like, I've never... Yeah, Yeah, and I'm like, I guess the only Tonga person of my friends. Most of them are like Bemba and stuff, but it's not like, I even forget sometimes that there's actually like, that we're different tribes and stuff like that. It doesn't really affect us at all.
Which is crazy because I know tribalism was a big thing, especially post when we gained independence. But yeah, like I guess among the younger generations, it's just a thing of, oh, which languages do you speak? Like which Zambian languages do you know how to speak? Oh, is it because you're this or that? Okay, but like, we're just Zambian.
Yeah, and I feel like there's also way more like, I guess, integration in the sense like I guess, what is it with maybe like when you have a Chilanga Mulilo or something like that. I think it was a bit more like Bembas would do it back in the day, but now it's like all the tribes are doing it now, or it's much more like widespread. And I guess when you guys have so much now overlap in the things that you practice culturally, there's not really so much a need to be like, well, you're this other tribe or this other thing that I'm not, you know. So
great. So we talked earlier about the barriers to women's progression in their careers, etc. And the world now is seeing Vice President Kamala Harris on the world stage as the second Democratic nominee for the position of President of the United States. Knowing that that's one of the most, if not the most powerful country in the world, how does that make you ladies feel about the possibilities for you in your lives?
I think especially for America, the possibility of having like a woman of color, a Black woman, become like their president is such a huge thing. And I think it's very like symbolic of how much women have been able to accomplish, especially again in the US, because I'm pretty sure like women were only able to open bank accounts on their own in like 1974 or something like that. So to go from that to now having like a Black female president is such a huge thing. But for me, I think as great as that will be, I think what is also going to be really important is what she does with the power that she's now going to have, and to see how she's going to, like, you know, further women's rights movements, like, I know, like reproductive rights, like the Black female mortality rate, especially like in hospitals and things like that, and how she's able to make those meaningful changes for the people that, you know, may end up voting her into office. So I think it would be like really exciting to see how things could change in America in like the next 4 years.
Yeah, there's a quote in my book where I say it's easier to run for office than it is to run the office. So absolutely, if she does win, I'd love to see exactly what change she brings. Basila, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with what Mwaka said. I think it shows what's possible, and it shows how, despite whatever challenges you might face as a woman, it is possible to overcome, and it is possible to accomplish, and it shows that women do belong in these leadership positions. But yeah, I think it also highlights just how many challenges women face to reach these positions, especially when you like compare her journey to receiving that nomination and possibly that office with how Donald Trump got there. And if you like compare that to campaigns, like Donald Trump is just offered a lot more forgiveness, shall I say, than Kamala is. And even if you just look at their careers before this point, like Kamala was, I think, district attorney for like 7 years and attorney general for another 6, and she was senator for 4 before she was then vice president for 4 years and then maybe president, versus Donald Trump. When he entered the scene in 2016, he was just a businessman. He had no references or background in politics. Like it wasn't his area. And, you know, he managed to obtain office. Now he's, you know, he was convicted on 34 felony counts. You know, he's had 3 wives versus Kamala, where it's a thing of, oh, she was married late in her 40s. She doesn't have biological children of her own. So it's just, it highlights the different, I guess, standards women and men face when going for these positions. It highlights the moral standards particularly pushed on women versus the standards pushed on men. But yeah, like Mwaka said, it'll be very interesting to see what she does with that platform if she manages to obtain it.
Great. Now, ladies, we're wrapping up. I'm just going to ask the final questions. So to Basila, you're studying law.
Yes.
And I I want to find out from you how you're going to use your legal skills going forward, what change you want to make in the world.
I'll be honest in saying I'm not exactly sure at this point, but I am enjoying my degree. What I like about law is it's quite vast. There's so many different avenues you can take with it, and I'm enjoying learning the different principles and ways you can apply the law. What I like about law is that it has the ability to shape, communities, countries, economies. Like it has the ability to build and destroy, and I'm enjoying learning about it, and I'm hoping in these next 2 years of my degree I can figure out where exactly I want to focus. But I know that I want to do something good with the knowledge I obtained. I want to help people, whether that's through humanitarian law, international law. Like, I don't personally think corporate law is for me. But again, we'll see. But yeah, I hope to do something good with the platform I obtained from my legal degree.
Great, absolutely. Look forward to seeing what you'll do.
Thank you.
Mwaka, you're a recent graduate. You were just about to graduate this end of the year. What does the future hold for you? And in terms of your worldview, in terms of the skills and sort of things you've equipped yourself with over time, what does the world look like going forward for you?
I mean, I don't know, it's so hard to say right now because it's like, I'm just like coming out of it. Initially, when I had like just finished or was like finishing up with like school, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can do anything and I can be anything, and everything is out there for me to take and stuff. And then, you kind of start, getting into the, okay, now I have to get a job thing. And then that obviously now is more challenging. So then you're like, oh my gosh, like I'll never do anything and I'll never get a job that I like and this, that. And it's weird for me because I've never had like, well, not that I've never had, but regarding what I've studied, I never really had like, this is a specific job that I want. I want to have this job and I want to do it in this way. So like for me, I'm kind of just like figuring myself out in that way, like what is really me, what do I genuinely truly like in the long term, and what will that, obviously it might change, but I think for me, I'm just like trying to take it step by step and stuff like that. Like there's a Bible verse that says, worry about today because tomorrow will bring its own problems. And I feel like that's how I'm feeling about it at the moment. Like now I am like working and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, but I think long term it just like depends.
Well, ladies, it's been an absolute pleasure to interview you today. You're simply amazing, and I can't wait to see how your stars shine on the world stage, not even the national stage.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
That was another episode of Women Resilience and the Will to Lead. Please like, share, and subscribe, and tune in to our next episode. Thank you for tuning in to Women Resilience and the Will to Lead. I'd like to thank our production team, Keen Kings Media. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and press the subscribe button.